All right, let's get right into it. We all want to be better, don't we? Learn that language, get in shape, crush it at work. But what if I told you that the way we've all been taught to go after those goals, with this huge heroic effort, is actually the very thing setting us up to fail?
Yeah, take a look at this number. If you've ever made a New Year's resolution, this probably feels painfully familiar. Research shows that only about 9% of people actually stick to them. Think about that. By the middle of February, most of us have already thrown in the towel. It's the same old story. Big dreams, but the motivation just vanishes.
And that leads us to the big question we're going to tackle here. Why is it so incredibly hard to make a change that lasts? And more importantly, what does the science actually say about the right way to do it?
Okay, first things first, and this is really important. If you've tried and failed to make a habit stick, it is not a moral failing. You're not lazy. It's just that you've been using the wrong strategy, one that basically goes to war with the way your brain is wired. Just think about your day for a second. How much of what you do is a conscious choice? You might be surprised to hear that it's way less than you think. Research from Duke University found that a full 40% of the things you do every single day are not conscious decisions. They're habits. So when you try to force some massive change using willpower alone, you're literally fighting a 40% headwind of your own brain's autopilot. So this go big or go home idea, it really fails for three main reasons. First, we count on motivation, but motivation is a feeling, right? It comes and goes. Second, we get totally obsessed with the outcome, like I want to lose 20 pounds, instead of building the system that would actually get us there. And third, we quit way too early because we don't see results right away. And that last one, we're definitely going to come back to that.
Look, to build better habits, we first have to understand how they're built in the first place. So let's pop the hood for a second and take a quick look at your brain's operating system.
Inside your brain, something really fascinating happens. When you first try something new, your prefrontal cortex, think of it as the CEO of your brain, is working like crazy. It's taking a ton of effort. But as you repeat that action, your brain goes, hey, let's make this more efficient, and it hands the job over to the basal ganglia, the brain's automatic pilot. This is why you can drive home and not even remember the trip. Our goal is to get our good habits running on that same automatic system.
And that automatic system? It runs on a really simple but incredibly powerful four-step loop. It all starts with a cue, which is just a trigger. That cue creates a craving, a desire for some kind of change. That leads to the response, the habit itself. And finally, you get a reward, which tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's remember to do that again. Cue, craving, response, reward. That loop is behind every single habit you have, good or bad.
So, if trying to make massive changes is the problem, what's the solution? Well, the answer, and it's backed by tons of science, is to start small. I mean, ridiculously small. We're talking about the science of the 1% shift.
Hey, remember that third reason big goals fail because we don't see immediate results? Well, this is the fix. The author James Clear calls this the plateau of latent potential. It's that super frustrating time when you're doing all the right things, you're putting in the work, but nothing seems to be happening. But here is the crucial part. The work is never wasted. It's just being stored.
Think of it like this. You've got an ice cube in a room that's 28 degrees. You slowly raise the temperature. 29 degrees, nothing. 30 degrees, still just an ice cube. 31, nothing. All that energy seems wasted, right? But then you hit 32 degrees, and that one extra degree unleashes this massive change. It melts. Your habits are exactly the same. All that work is being stored until you finally hit your breakthrough point. You just have to stick with it.
So how do we make it easier to stick with it long enough to see that breakthrough? By using a rule that is so simple, it's almost silly. It's called the 2-minute rule. The idea is, whatever new habit you want to start, you have to scale it down until it takes less than 2 minutes to do. See, the hardest part of any new habit is just getting started. This rule makes starting practically effortless.
So, what does this actually look like? Well, instead of telling yourself, I'm going to run 3 miles, your new habit is just, I will put on my running shoes. Instead of, I'm doing 30 minutes of yoga, it's just, I will roll out my yoga mat. You're not trying to do the whole thing. You're just creating a tiny little gateway habit that makes it so easy to start, it's actually harder to say no.
Okay, so you've mastered the art of just showing up. Awesome. Now, let's talk about building a whole system around your new habits that makes doing the right thing the easiest thing to do. One of the most powerful ways to do this is called habit stacking. You're basically hijacking the habits you already have. The formula is simple. After I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. So for example, after I pour my morning cup of coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Your old habit, making coffee, becomes the automatic trigger for your new one.
You know what's even more powerful than willpower? Your environment. Seriously, forget about self-control. It's way easier to just become the architect of your surroundings. You want to read more at night? Simple. Don't leave your phone by the bed. Put a book on your pillow instead. The goal is to make the cues for your good habits super obvious and the cues for your bad habits totally invisible.
So what happens when you mess up? Because let's be real, you will. Life happens. The most important rule to remember is this one: never miss twice. Missing once? That's just an accident. It happens to everyone. But missing twice? That's the beginning of a brand new, unwanted habit. The goal isn't perfection. It's just to get back on track as quickly as possible.
And that brings us to the deepest and maybe the most powerful idea of all. Real long-term change isn't really about what you want to achieve. It's about who you wish to become. See, most of us try to change from the outside in. We start with the outcome we want, like I want to run a marathon. Then we figure out a process. But the most powerful, lasting change works from the inside out. You start with your identity. The goal isn't just to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner.
And here's a beautiful way to think about it. Every single action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. Every time you just put on your running shoes, you're casting a vote that says, I am a runner. Every time you read just one page, you cast a vote for I am a reader. These tiny atomic habits are the proof that you're building a new identity.
So let's forget about some massive, life-altering transformation for just a moment, and instead just ask yourself this much simpler, much more powerful question. What's one tiny, microscopic vote that you can cast for your future self today?